Tonight, ultimatum. The BC Conservative Party sends a letter to supporters of Jordan Keeley. Structure fire. A popular restaurant in Fort St. John goes up in flames. And splitting the pot. PRD directors disagree on the allocation of Site C money. Good evening and thank you for joining us. And we begin tonight with the Conservative Party of BC issuing ultimatums to members in ridings where 3 MLAs have defected to sit as independents. And according to the party, so far the responses have been overwhelmingly positive. A March 11th letter verified as an official party communication asked members to decide by today whether they'll support the BC Conservatives or the Independents. The letter sent by Provincial Membership Chair Mark Robertson notes that members cannot serve two parties and will have to decide where loyalties lie. Robertson also points out the rise of the BC Conservatives under John Rustad. They went from 0 to 44% of the popular vote in just 13 months and narrowly missed defeating the NDP in last year's election. The party telling CJDC members in affected ridings have expressed, quote, strong dissatisfaction with the newly independent MLAs. They add it emphasizes the fact they were elected under a Conservative banner to work with the official opposition. It comes as Peace River North MLA Jordan Keeley, along with Dallas Brody and Tara Armstrong, left the party due to internal conflicts with leader John Rustad. Brody was ousted for mocking the testimony of a residential school survivor, while Keeley quit in solidarity. He also has accused the party of being liberal and said he's lost faith in John Rustad. The MLA refusing to comment on the letter, but remains steadfast to remain in his position. The trio has said they will be forming a new party. However, those plans remain up in the air as whispers of more Conservatives jumping ship circle the legislature. No injuries have been reported after a fire at a fast food restaurant in Fort St. John. It happened early this morning at the Mucho Burrito in the Gateway Plaza off Alaska Road South. The Fort St. John Fire Department arriving on scene just after 2:30 this morning. Heavy smoke and fire could be seen coming from the restaurant. Deputy Chief Matt Triano describing the scene as floor-to-ceiling smoke with high heat. It took 13 firefighters nearly 2 hours to contain the blaze. Luckily, they were able to prevent the fire from spreading to adjacent restaurants. The building sustaining severe damage. It is now closed, but surrounding businesses do remain open. The cause of the fire is currently under investigation. The City of Fort St. John confirming a breach of its internal network was in fact a ransomware attack. The city officials aren't saying if hackers asked for payment after data was stolen. On February the 25th, an unauthorized third party gained access to part of the city's network and encrypted data. The breach crippling phone lines, emails, and much of the city's internal network. The data has since been restored, while the city says it did not issue payments to hackers. Directors of the Peace River Regional District are facing contention over the allocation of Site C legacy money. The board looking to approve the regional services impact portion of the funding distributed by the PRD. Well, during the March 6th meeting, discussions intensified on how the money should be spent. Area C Chair Brad Sperling objecting to the regional district spending and wants electoral areas to decide their portion. The formula negotiated with BC Hydro back in 2013 considers population and long-term service impact split 60-40. Municipalities spend their portion as they see fit, while the PRD distributes to rural populations and regional services. Well, mayors of Fort St. John and Hudson's Hope opposed revisiting the formula. Travis Cabell citing confrontation and infighting during the process. Well, the board voted to send a letter to BC Hydro questioning the funding amount based on increased generating capacity and environmental assessments. They'll also be seeking legal opinions on whether the agreement can be revisited. BC Hydro distributes over $460,000 this year, Fort St. John receiving the bulk of it, followed by Dawson Creek. Payments will continue until 2093 as part of the current agreement. And the PRD is working to provide safe drinking water to bulk water users in Rose Prairie. It comes after explosive gases were detected at the station back in 2021. The station has been plagued with issues for years. Since 2018, it's faced water quality issues, treatment challenges, and high costs in seeking alternative solutions. Those water quality issues included cloudiness and odor in the water. In 2020, a temporary treatment system was put in place that improved water quality. Well, hazard gases were then detected in 2021 through testing and were unable to be removed. The station forced to shut down since then. A 2022 investigation found hydrogen sulfide and methane as the major gases present. Repair costs were estimated at over $1.3 million at the time, and drilling for new wells began in 2024 with mixed results. 2 wells providing unsuitable, according to the PRD. A third well located near the existing station on 259 Road showed promise, but complications during development there led to test results to be inconclusive. And a 4th well has now been drilled. Recommended an in-person community meeting is scheduled in Montney on March the 26th to discuss the updates. Feedback is also being sought through an online survey that will be available through April the 2nd. Well, some farmers and cattle producers in the Peace region will be affected amid the ongoing trade war with the United States and tariffs from China. Well, now Farm Credit Canada is looking to support those in the agricultural sector.
Any Canadian ag or farm operations, agribusiness, food processors that see their business, their revenues being impacted by trade disruptions at large. So like, as I said, it's not just US tariffs, it's not just any specific tariff or policy, but it's trade disruptions at large.
You can find out more information by visiting the FCC website or by contacting your local branch. It's been a lightning rod for controversy. The province has planned to force certain people with mental health or substance use issues into care. The health minister is outlining the provincial response and recommendations on how to address the growing concerns about safety, both for the public and patients. Back in September, the province tasked doctors Daniel Vigo with reviewing this issue and providing recommendations. The issue of involuntary care became highly political in the lead up to the October provincial election. Dr. Vigo unveiled his recommendations, which are primarily guidance to doctors that using drugs or alcohol should not disqualify a patient from involuntary care.
Has changed because of the dramatic impact of toxic drugs on our brains.
There are no changes being made to the Mental Health Act at this time. This is about providing a higher level of care to a very specific and vulnerable population.
Opponents of the plan say the focus should be getting detox and treatment opportunities available to those who want it first. The BC government is taking aim at Elon Musk's company Tesla, affecting those who are in the market for an electric vehicle. BC Hydro has been directed not to send rebate checks to any new Tesla buyers who install electric vehicle chargers.
They shouldn't be made available in the public subsidy program right now. I don't think anyone in British Columbia needs to be told why. And I think most people would support their removal from that list, and they're being removed.
Previously, British Columbia residents could apply for up to $350 through Hydro's program when they installed a Tesla charger. It's the province's latest move in response to U.S. President Donald Trump's tariffs. The rebate program is still available to those who purchase electric vehicles as long as they aren't Teslas. BC's cannabis industry is calling on the government to ease interprovincial trade restrictions as it has for alcohol in the face of tariffs. The BC Cannabis Alliance says there's demand right across the country for products from British Columbia, but smaller producers are struggling to reach those customers due to provincial red tape. As more countries legalize cannabis, the Alliance says it's now considering shipping its products internationally since there are fewer hoops to jump through.
Profitable for producers to sell to Germany and Australia than it is for them to sell to Richmond. Right now we're restricted and gate-kept by all the different provincial distributors, and so small businesses are not able to access a lot of the customers in the country.
A cross-country alcohol agreement is expected to be signed in the coming weeks. However, the cannabis industry says it has not been asked to be in the discussions. But Canada's health minister is proposing to increase the amount of cannabis that can be cultivated and processed by craft farmers and nurseries by a factor of 4. Well, Canada's retaliatory tariffs are now in effect in response to the Trump administration's tariffs on steel and aluminum. The impact of these tariffs on daily life could be felt soon, especially if you like beer. Most of the aluminum cans that Canadian brewers use come from south of the border.
The biggest problem for all of this stuff is just the uncertainty we're facing. We have no idea what's coming tomorrow. It makes it really difficult to run a business, to plan for the future, to know that you're still going to be in business next year.
BC's brewers say they would love to buy local, but there simply aren't any cans made in British Columbia. Some estimate the reciprocal tariffs will add anywhere from $1.50 to more than $2 extra for a 24-pack of beer, and they're calling on the BC government for help. A major Canadian steel manufacturer is laying off more than 100 workers in an early indication of the impact that Trump's tariffs could have on the Canadian economy. The Canadian Metal Processing Group says it's reducing its workforce by 140 employees across its 3 manufacturing facilities in eastern Ontario. The company says it was a difficult decision, but necessary in the current business environment. And amid Canada's ongoing trade war with the U.S., a new poll is suggesting 40% of all Canadians are worried about losing their jobs. The new poll from Leger suggests more than half of workers in Ontario are concerned about job security. That's the highest in the country, while BC was at 39%. Across Canada, 46% of all households say they are living paycheck to paycheck. At the same time, new data from the Bank of Canada is suggesting 40% of Canadian businesses are scaling back hiring and investment plans. Well, today was all about lowering the temperature. 2 key meetings took place, one in Washington, D.C., the other at the G7 gathering in Quebec, both happening under the shadow of tariffs and retaliatory measures as the trade war ramps up. CTV's Judy Trin is in Washington with the latest.
Canadian federal officials Dominic LeBlanc and Francois-Philippe Champagne, along with the ambassador to the U.S., Kirsten Hillman, arrived alongside Premier Doug Ford just before 4 p.m. for a meeting with U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick. Their discussion is not expected to move the needle in terms of preventing further tariffs from the Trump administration. Those are still expected on April 2nd, when Trump has said he will enact reciprocal tariffs. And he will also revisit the issue of the tariffs that he delayed because of Canada's dealings with fentanyl and the U.S. northern border. So what we know from this meeting is that the Canadian officials are seeking clarity. They want, as Champagne has said, to know what the rules of the game are, because they keep on changing. We know that after Premier Ford withdrew the surcharge on electricity, he was extended an olive branch, so that's what he called it, by Howard Lutnick for this meeting. But the tone has changed again. It seems less conciliatory today. This is the Commerce Secretary right before the meeting. This is what he said. He feels that Canada and Ford may have overstepped. Take a listen.
Why are we doing all this business in Canada if they're not respectful, if they're not thankful, and they don't want to do it? Imagine a provincial leader, so like the equivalent of a governor, deciding that they're going to attack America and put a 25% increase on energy prices to teach Donald Trump a lesson.
The Trump administration believes tariffs could be a strong source of revenue that will pay for tax cuts, along with pressuring companies to move their manufacturing back into the U.S. This meeting, once again, is not expected to move the needle. Howard Lutnick has also said that he is well aware of the political situation in Canada. On Friday, Prime Minister-designate Mark Carney will be sworn in, along with a new cabinet. And there's also the possibility of a snap election. The Trump administration wants to deal with the government who will be in power for the next few years, not one that's in a transitory stage. Judy Trin, CTV News, Washington.
And the Dow Jones Industrial Average dropping again today as Donald Trump threatens to expand the global trade war, this time with the 200% tariff on European alcohol. It happened as Canada is hosting the foreign ministers of those countries at the opening of the G7 meeting in Quebec. Before today's group session, Canada's Foreign Affairs Minister held one-on-one meetings with representatives of the European Union, France, and the UK. Mélanie Joly also met with U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio. The focus of that meeting was tariffs and Canada-U.S. relations. Joly also spoke about supporting Ukraine in light of Russia's illegal invasion. Well, today marks Justin Trudeau's last day in office, and he delivered a farewell to Canadians on social media.
last day here in this office, but I will always be boldly and unapologetically Canadian. My only ask is that no matter what the world throws at us, you always be the same.
Tomorrow, new Liberal leader Mark Carney will be sworn in as Canada's 24th Prime Minister. All right, please stay tuned. I'll be right back with a look at weather, but as we head to break, a look at today's closing market numbers.